The roster cuts always sting, no matter how many years you've been watching this team. Some names you expect, some you never see coming. And then there are those borderline players who haunt your thoughts because you just don't know if the team will pull the trigger. The Dolphins reached that point once again, the moment when projections meet reality, when a preseason that felt endless suddenly collapses into a single Tuesday deadline. And here we are, staring at a 53 that doesn't feel final at all, because it never really is. Quarterbacks first, because everything always circles back to them. Tua Tagovailoa sits there, unchallenged as the face of this offense, and no one ever really doubted his place. The questions weren't about him, but about what stands behind him if things get shaky. Zach Wilson came in as a reclamation project, a piece that might still carry some upside, and maybe even enough to rewrite his reputation. Then there's Quinn Ewers, young and raw, the kind of quarterback you stash with the hope of sculpting into something greater. Did anyone really believe Miami was going to walk away from carrying all three? Not this summer. Nothing shifted, nothing broke. So here they stand, a trio that looks stable on paper, but sparks uneasy thoughts the moment you imagine Tua missing time. Can Wilson steady the ship if called upon? Will Ewers be ready for more than mop-up duty? Questions like these never truly rest. Running backs, now that's where the cuts hurt. Devon Achane is explosive enough to change games in a heartbeat. His speed unmatched. He was always safe. Ollie Gordon too. Young legs, power, and flashes that made coaches lean in just a bit closer during film sessions. He sticks, no surprise. The tricky part came with Aaron Shamklin sneaking in, while Jalen Wright heads to injured reserve. That line from McDaniel, evaluating a couple of options procedurally, it carried weight, maybe even a warning. Wright's talent isn't in doubt, but his body won't cooperate, and that opens the door for Shamklin. Mike Boone left out, must sting for him. You wonder if a single play in practice, a missed block, or a drop ball tipped the scales. The tiniest cracks decide futures in this league. Wide receivers, always a heated room, always filled with drama. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are locked in, superstars who carry this passing game. Malik Washington flashed, Nick Westbrook-Ikine carved out a spot, D. Eskridge survived, and Taj Washington clung to the edge. The debate rages, will they keep 5 or 6? If it's 5, Taj is gone. If it's 6, Ezukanma still lurks as a possible disruptor. That's the nature of this room. Speed everywhere, but fragile depth when you scratch beyond the stars. You almost expect the Dolphins to regret one of these decisions, because young receivers cut today often show up on another team tomorrow making plays. Which of those names lands back on the practice squad? Which one disappears into another system and makes Miami wonder what slipped away? The uncertainty gnaws at you. Tight ends and fullback, a puzzle nobody seems entirely comfortable solving. Alec Ingold, the glue piece, reliable and versatile. Darren Waller, the splash signing, a name that carries hope but also whispers of fragility. Pharaoh Brown, Julian Hill, Tanner Connor, all still in. That's 5 bodies in one room, and it feels heavy. Does McDaniel really want 4 tight ends plus Ingold? Or is this just insurance in case Waller's body betrays him again? Connor's name feels the most fragile here, hanging by a thread, surviving only if coaches trust Waller to actually endure a full season. One ankle twist, one hamstring pull, and this decision suddenly looks smarter. But for now, it sits awkwardly, like a piece that doesn't quite fit, but you keep anyway. The offensive line always tells the ugliest truths. You never have enough. Patrick Paul, Austin Jackson, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels, Jonas Savaiania, Larry Borum, Andrew Meyer, Daniel Brunskill. That's the 8 who stay. Kion Smith misses out, even though his versatility screamed value. Meyer's health complicates everything. Out a while, McDaniel admitted, which usually translates to IR. If Meyer goes down, Smith is right back in, no hesitation. That's how fragile this whole unit feels. One injury, and suddenly Brunskill's role grows larger than anyone hoped. You watch these names, and you can't shake the feeling that Tua's safety depends less on his own decisions and more on whether this line holds together or crumbles under pressure. Edge rushers, the lifeblood of this defense. Jaylon Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Quentin Bell, Cameron Good, Matthew Judon. Yes, Juden, the big veteran addition, the one who shakes everything up. Bell and Good might not terrify quarterbacks, but their value on special teams buys them security. Young guns like Murphy and McClendon? Off the list, at least for now, though it feels like they're just a call away if an injury strikes. That's the brutal truth. These guys showed flashes, enough to make you want them, but not enough to bump veterans who can handle kickoff coverage. Good stays alive because of that hidden work no one notices unless it fails. Does it sting to leave behind pass rush potential for special teams consistency? Absolutely. But that's the trade you live with. Inside the line, the tackles who clog and smash. Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Zeke Biggers. Biggers clawed his way here. Late surge in camp, upside too loud to ignore. Matt Dickerson had the steadier summer, maybe even the safer choice, but safe doesn't always win. Miami gambled on ceiling, not floor. Can 5 really be enough? Can Phillips hold up physically? Can Grant transition quickly? Can Biggers leap instead of crawl? Keeping 6 would have been a luxury this roster couldn't afford. And yet, if fatigue or injuries strike, don't be shocked if that choice comes back to haunt them. Linebackers inside the box. Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson, KJ Britt, Willie Gay Jr. 4 names, one missing piece. Channing Tindall, left out unless Miami decides to stretch it to 5. It feels like he slipped through the cracks, once seen as a project with upside. Now just another body in the pile. Eugene Asante teased potential, but his injury ruined timing. Practice squad likely awaits him. Brooks anchors, Dodson brings reliability. Britt fills the grinder role. Gay adds athletic flash. It's not flashy, it's not dominant, but it holds. Still, you can't help but think depth could break this unit apart if one injury lands in the wrong place. Corners. Always a roller coaster, and this year's no different. Storm Duck, Kendall Sheffield, Jason Marshall Jr., Jack Jones Jr., Cam Smith. That's the 5. Sheffield limps toward the start of the season, uncertainty hanging over his head. Bonner's injury makes IR inevitable, no surprises there. Armstrong impressed, enough that some thought he'd sneak in. Hilton. No. His usage said it all. Maybe he's lost a step, maybe the scheme doesn't suit him, but the message was clear. This group leans on youth, raw edges everywhere, and it leaves you wondering how they'll hold up when tested by veteran quarterbacks who know how to pick apart an experience. Safeties, the back end where mistakes turn fatal. Minkah Fitzpatrick stands as the anchor, the leader, the one constant. Ifeatu Melifonwu, Elijah Campbell, Ashton Davis, Jordan Colbert fill the room. Trader heads to IR, injury stealing his shot before it began.